Hey everyone, it's Total again. Today I'm going to be going over how Legion Disc Priest actually works, because there seemed to be a lot of confusion when the beta started about people just not really knowing what they're supposed to be doing, because this is kind of a complicated spec to learn. It's not quite a traditional healer, and of course it's not a DPS, but there is a lot of target switching involved and a lot of juggling between healing friends and damaging enemies. And it's not very apparent how you're supposed to do that if you've never played something like this before. Um, so I'm just going to do a quick run through of a dungeon. Eye of Azshara is what I'm going to be doing. Just kind of going over everything I'm doing during the dungeon and why I'm doing what I'm doing, and so you can see how the spec actually is supposed to work in action. My setup right now, I have 0 macros. I have no add-ons except for Scada here, so you don't have to, you don't need anything to make it work. Of course, that will make things easier, but it's not required. My talent setup right now is what I'm going to do for dungeons. I'm going to use Castigation instead of Schism, because Schism just is a bit too hard to work in 5-man sometimes. There's a lot of movement involved on a lot of the bosses, and sometimes you just don't have time to sit there and cast Schism before Penance. So it's easier just to use Castigation so that Penance is a giant heal. And of course the Penitent is just not very good. Angelic Feather is really good for moving around. Body and Soul is just not as good as it used to be because it's only 3-second speed boost for 40%, and it's only on Power Word Shield, which has a cooldown. So if you need to move around like multiple times, you have to use Feathers, even though the Feathers are kind of nerfed. This tier just doesn't matter for 5-man, so I'm just going to stick on Dominate Mind because that's what I used when I was soloing. I'm going to use Mindbender because it's actually a very powerful healing cooldown now, and having it often every minute instead of 3 minutes is very useful for catching up on bosses because you get to use it 2 or 3 times in a fight. And Solace, much like Schism, is just kind of too hard to work in on demand on a cooldown. 5-mans aren't very nice like that. You have to sometimes drop what you're doing and just spam Shadow Mend on the tank or something like that, and you can't really have your mana tied to a cooldown that dictates that you press it every so many seconds. You can probably get away with that in raids where you can have other people cover healing, and you're not forced to do everything yourself, but in 5-mans it doesn't work very well. I'm also going to be using Power Infusion, which might seem like an odd choice. A lot of people like to go with either Contrition or Twist of Fate. I don't think Contrition is really necessary in 5-mans because there just aren't that many atonements you're trying to keep up. You can generally keep them up well enough, and Power Infusion is another good go button because it lasts just long enough for the hard parts of most of the 5-man bosses. And then Twist of Fate just doesn't really get used in dungeons very often because people just don't drop that low, and you end up with most of the run just not having Twist of Fate, which is pretty bad. And on most bosses, if they drop that low, they're probably going to die anyway. In 5-mans, you more want to keep everyone topped off all the time. Halo, I think, is just miles better than Divine Star right now. Divine Star has a similar problem to Schism and Solace in that it just doesn't do very much for the global cooldown. You can be doing other things instead of pressing Divine Star, and people just don't like to cooperate when you're killing with random people. You just press Halo and you heal everybody. It's a lot easier to use than Divine Star right now. In more organized content, Divine Star gets a lot better, of course. And then Clarity of Will is just bad. It's just straight up bad. There's no reason to ever use Clarity of Will, really, right now. And I'm going to be switching between Purge the Wicked and Shadow Covenant here. There's one boss in particular that Shadow Covenant I think is very good on in Eye of Azshara, but Purge the Wicked is just so good for dealing with trash and everything, because you just get free dots early. It's just free extra healing. It does more damage than Shadow Word Pain normally, which is pretty nice. My weapon is not very leveled. I only have like 3 traits. These are from my relics, so I'm not using a super awesome weapon or anything. I'm going to be queuing into randoms, so I have no idea who I'm going to get. I know what dungeon I'm going to be in, and I've done this a few times. specifically as disc. But, this should go okay. I don't foresee any problems. Except for the one boss that might be a problem, which is always the I forget what his name is. Is the giant boss? He's the fourth boss in here, just because he has a bit of a weird mechanic for people to deal with. We're just gonna load up in here. You can see I'm still even using the default party frames. Again, just not using add-ons. I don't know what setup you're going to use when you play disc, but I just kind of want to show everyone that you don't need add-ons or macros or anything. Help if my UI worked and I could actually target people though. Reload this. There we go. Even the default UI doesn't work sometimes. Okay, so you can see I'm just using Shadow Mend out of combat to just get people up. It does not leave its dot behind when you're out of combat, so you can just spam that on people, and that's how you get people up after fights. So just start off, keep Purge the Wicked up. Instantly penance, so now I have Purge the Wicked on 2 people. It's actually really terrible. I need to switch something here. Stop party frames. There we go. Actually, I haven't done a dungeon since alpha ended, so all of my old settings are still on there. I would not recommend using the default party frames because you kind of need to see your atonement durations. Because you can see these atonements last for a very long time. You don't need to roll atonement on the entire group all of the time. That's really just not necessary. Only a few bosses even damage everyone at a time, and most trash does not. So you can really just spend most of your time atonement on a couple people. Issue with Purge the Wicked right now, where it tries to cleave to something that's one of these yellow mobs. Pull it into combat, which is kind of unfortunate, but Halo will do that anyway as well, so it's just kind of something you have to accept. You can kind of work your way around it, but it's not really important. I'm just kind of wandering through this. Remember, this is also a normal mode dungeon, so it's supposed to be very easy. Honestly, there should be absolutely no struggle here, except when someone just decides that they want to pull extra mobs. That's always nice. But I mind control one of them, so it's okay. So I'm just gonna get all my atonements out because this isn't cool right now. I'm gonna Halo people. And I'm gonna drop my Mindbender as well, because why not? It's a minute long cooldown. I don't save it for anything. So you're just keeping everyone up. I just pulled 2 groups of trash and it's fine. Largely, just because the tank was pretty good and picked everything up, so there weren't any problems. I mean, you can see people aren't even dropping below half health, and they're just double pulling trash. As long as you just keep your atonements up and keep penancing on cooldown, it's pretty good. You might see that I'm bouncing between different targets a lot, which is because I just don't have mouse over macros. Again, I didn't want to showcase the gameplay with some kind of assumption that you're going to have these macros, because maybe you don't like them. But even then, you're still just pop up, show that back on the target, and you just sit here. See, even our Demon Hunter friend decided to pull one of these turtles, so anything that does any kind of AoE will pull them, so I'm not concerned about accidentally pulling them. Generally, Power Word Shield is enough for most of the normal trash pulls. Just because it's a fairly big shield in its own right, and then Penance is just so much damage, especially with Castigation. And then when you're just spamming Smite, when it gets down to like one mob, the absorb on the Smite itself, because it doesn't just do atonement, it does an absorb on the mob that makes it absorb some of its next few attacks. Like, that's enough to heal the entire group alone. It's just spamming smite, which is kind of funny. Alright, this is the first boss right here. He just has a few ads. Nothing special. Everyone's taking their sweet time here. There we go. Okay. I haven't even had to use Rapture, Power Infusion, or Light's Wrath at this point, just because everything's been so easy. I don't anticipate having to use them on this boss either. I might use Light's Wrath just for the damage, you know? Speaking of damage, yeah, I'm doing a fair bit amount, 10% of the group's damage right here. I'm not even using all of my damage abilities because I'm saving them for when I need to heal. So, okay, so we're just gonna do this, then we're gonna unleash the Mindbender. So yeah, I plead a couple of people, just to catch up on the atonements, but, you know, at this point, then Power Word Shield is enough. You can see I'm letting some of my atonements fall, and that's on purpose, because I just don't need to keep them up. Like, why do I need to keep atonement up on people that have full health? There's no point. Okay, we're just gonna Power Word Radiance here, and then drop a big, hot, sticky Light's Wrath. I didn't even see it hit. Did 136,000 damage though. It's pretty nice. But yeah, you can see just nobody came anywhere near dying. This boss is easily one of the easiest bosses I've seen in any of the 5-mans. So we're just going to move on to Trashier, and it's really just going to be more of the same. There really should never be any issues on Trash. That's how you know you're doing something very wrong, is if people are dying on Trash and there's only one group being pulled at a time. It's probably your fault. This dungeon's pretty cool though, because this second boss, see, there's this big layout in Azshara. You kind of go clockwise around here. The second boss, all the trash is really spread out, but you have to kill these big casters to actually be able to kill the boss. So we're just gonna, there's like 3 or 4 trash packs. You can see once again I'm not actually healing people except for Power Word Shield because Smite itself is doing a fair chunk of absorbs, and that's actually taking care of the bulk of the damage right now. So I'll look in my healing. This is my healing breakdown right now. Smite is doing, yeah, 27% of my healing. That's crazy. This is on the current fight, yeah, okay. Zero blue dragon skin. Strength trinket, that's not cool. Oh well. Of course you can still just, you know, drop a Power Word Shield before. Power Word Shield is a very cheap spell, like 600, 12,000. You know, it's even Pleat with only 1 atonement is 3,000 now. So just Power Word Shield is very cheap. You can always afford to use Power Word Shield. See, I'm not even playing very well right now. I'm just not keeping Purge the Wicked up. I'm more focused on explaining things than I am actually playing well, because this stuff is so easy. You see, just as soon as someone drops, I just drop a Power Word Shield on them. I'm not just spamming Power Word Shield on cooldown because I don't actually know who's going to take damage next on this trash. It could be anybody. And so I just drop a Power Word Shield, and that's my atonement, and then also just stops them from taking any more damage. And then they just get healed back up by the next penance and my Purge the Wicked. This is a bit of a mildly annoying boss, because she alternates between an attack that kills you if you're standing in the water and an attack that gets rid of the sand if you're on top of the sand. So you just kind of have to jump back and forth. And then there's a really fun thing that makes it just so annoying at the end of the fight, where someone will get a debuff, and then when the debuff is over, you do like a giant cone in front of you. So get out of the water. Ooh. Shoot him. And we got a bunch of these globule things. I'm just gonna Halo, like, just for the damage, because why not? I think I just blasted the raid with my debuff. Here. Pick these up, that'd be nice. This is one of the dangers of using Atonement. Okay, so I have this debuff on me, so I want to like face away from the group, and then it splashed as a cone. People generally don't know this in my experience from running this dungeon, so you just kind of have to heal up people. Yeah, this is the one where I don't want to be on top of the sand. So generally on any of these 5-man bosses, when it hits around 30%, I just kind of go ham and start using all my cooldowns anyway. Just because all of your cooldowns end up doing more damage one way or another. So, if you just start using cooldowns, then you'll just do damage, so it ends the fight faster and heals people at the same time. Yeah, the boss is just so easy. Again, just nobody even dropped below 50% because, well, A, we were all just doing the mechanics correctly, and B, why would they? So in this guy, this whole dungeon has some really neat trash, and on this one, this boss is in this area, but he kind of moves around to the pools on the outside during the fight. And then there are these hydras that just wander around. They kind of have to die before you start the boss, otherwise they will wander in, and this is a very high boss. So anything extra usually ends up killing people. That's another thing, it's kind of important when you're playing to realize if something goes wrong to try to figure out why it actually went wrong. It might be your fault, it might be the group's fault, it might be nobody's fault, you might just, you know, have a group that just doesn't know how to do the dungeon or something. See, I'm taking some damage, but I'm just getting healed up. I'm not even healing myself. I'm just, you know, you can just watch my health go up. Now the fight's over, I can just shout him in a couple times. This guy's standing right in front of the cone. He doesn't care. I'm gonna pull this seagull, because I don't want to pull it during the fight. It's just extra damage you don't need to deal with. Kill this guy too. Okay, so I think we're finally ready to do this boss now. Just gotta top myself off real quick. This is the highest group damage boss in the dungeon. One of the highest in all of the 5-mans. Kind of the polar opposite of that first boss, where there was just nothing going on. Part of the reason for that is that this guy kind of splits into like 2 other ad heads that comes up, and those have to die because they just start spewing group damage, and people rarely understand that. It's not that they don't understand, it's just they don't realize immediately how important it is to kill it, and they just, you know, keep DPSing whatever they want to DPS, which doesn't actually work well here. You can see it's fairly easy. This is actually the boss I was going to switch to Shadow Covenant for. Oh well. Without it. I'm going to Shadow Mend this guy because he's getting kind of low. That's going to get cleared by these ads real quick. So I'm dropping on Thunder, both for damage and healing, because we want to kill this head as fast as possible. This is when the most damage will be going out. And we also want to go over and kill this head, but see, most of the DPS will probably not join me. Yep, there's Demon Hunter just going back to the boss. He doesn't care. So now that that's over, all okay. Okay, it's about to split again. So I just have to run away from this. Okay, here I'm going to Power Infusion and Rapture. This is the first time I'm using Rapture in this whole dungeon. Just to get Atonement on everybody, because I don't have time to stand still and cast Power and Radiance. We're just going to blast this head down real fast. Boom, Light's Wrath. Okay, now it's Shadow Mend time. Halo. This guy. Save myself. Once more. Now you see everyone's kind of stabilized. The damage is more or less over. And now we're going to kill the boss. Yeah, I just used all of my cooldowns to get through that part. I don't need to save these cooldowns. I have so many different cooldowns. I haven't even back up. We'll do a little bit. And of course another seagull, because why not? Yeah, that was the highest damage boss in this whole group. And like, you can see how easy that is. You just have to use all of your cooldowns. Rapture to get a shields on everyone and Atonement on everyone, and then use all of the things that do damage. And it turns out when you do more damage, you do more healing, and then, you know, that one's fine. Come on. Come on, guys. Any day now. Okay. Ironically, these giant trash mobs actually do more damage than some of the bosses in here. But, you know, as long as you're prepared and you understand that that's what's going to happen going in, you can deal with it. It's a trash mob, just go pull it. Okay. There. Of course, why pull the Wandering Murlocs? You can just pull the boss too. You can see I pre-put Atonement on everyone here because I know that this guy does a lot of group damage. And I know that he does it in big bursts, so I just did my out time. See, it's time for another round. It's about to stomp again, maybe stomps. Boom. And everything's okay. See, easy. The first time I did this, I did not understand that he was going to be doing that much damage, and I didn't set up my atonements properly. And if you get into that situation, it's very hard to recover. You can recover if you use your cooldowns, but yeah, if a big burst like that comes and you had no idea that it was coming, you're gonna have some problems. But that's fine, because that should only happen once, and then you know every other time that that's gonna happen. I guess we have one of those groups that wants to stop and contemplate the existence of the universe before every single pull. So, these guys do a lot of damage to the tank. I'm just gonna spam Shadow Mend a couple times, because why not? No, he's fine. You know, Shadow Mend, it costs a decent amount of mana, but yeah, not much. I dropped down to like 90% mana there. So, you should almost never be running out of mana in these 5-man dungeons, just because you leave combat so often, you just get all your mana back, and none of the bosses last anywhere near long enough to run out of mana. Oh, I'm not even sure how you run out of mana, unless you're just, like, spamming Power Radiance or something. Okay. This whole area is a giant trap. There's trash everywhere, but you can just run around most of it. Looks like our tank's actually been here before, so he seems to understand. This is the hardest trash bowl in the whole dungeon. There's 2 of these giants at the same time. This trash bowl is actually harder than 3 of the bosses in here. Stomps. Okay, you can see everyone got really low and I just bursted back up by using Light's Wrath and dropping Mindbender. And now I can use Halo for another burst. Too bad not everyone is hitting the same target. Okay, I'm just going to PI for the hell of it. Because this is kind of sketch. Okay. Lived through the last AoE, now we're good. Once again, I'm not playing very well. No. But it's fine. We're okay. Dust. Okay, and this is the boss that I've actually had the most trouble with so far. It's actually a very easy boss, except that he puts a bubble on people, and if you, the bubble is like a power-word shield, and if you don't break it before it runs out, it AoEs the entire group. So you can actually just instantly wipe if 2 people fail to break their bubble, which is kind of annoying. Because you just have to run around and stand in these little storm things to get rid of the bubble. As long as everyone does that, it's a fairly easy boss. It's just kind of a nightmare if people don't do the mechanic properly. This is again one of those fights where I know that there's going to be a big burst of raid damage. It's going to be when those bubbles explode, which means that I know I'm going to be using Power Radiance at some point. I can line up Light's Wrath for one of those, I can have Mindbender for one of those, I can Rapture for one of those. You know, I know that they're happening, and knowing is half the battle. Guess we're all going to stand around and talk about the boss again. Oh yeah, there's also just random storms that come through here that'll just like push you in a direction. It's kind of annoying, but can handle it. You know, let's just kill this guy because I don't want. I don't want this. You know someone's gonna pull these, and this boss is annoying enough with it. It's just trash. Guess we can do something while we're standing around and talking. Okay, there we go. Top him off. Yes, please, let's go. Oh, there we go. Wow. Finally decided to do the boss. This guy also does a cone, except that I guess we're just facing him random directions. This is part of what I mean is that, like, you know, sometimes the group is just very bad at doing the mechanics, and that's not really your fault if you have a hard time, and the mechanics just aren't being done correctly. Again, like, the boss should not be facing the group. That's bad. Well, I'm just gonna turn on the jets at this point, because this is just not cool. So far I've blown Mindbender and Halo. I still have my Light's Wrath, Power Infusion, and Rapture, though, so I should be fine. These guys are going to blow up because they're not doing a mechanic. But it's okay, because I'm a Disc Priest, and you have the best burst healing in the game. I'm just rapturing because I feel like these guys are going to blow up. I'm going to get rid of my bubble. Okay, my bubble's gone. See, now people are dying, and that's... well, that's because no one did the mechanic. But I'm going to kill the boss because I'm a Disc Priest. And I do damage. Res people. I wonder if this still blows up. That would suck. Oh, cool. But yeah, so like 2 people died there, but I mean you can see I really had no control over whether they died or not. They got nuked because they stood there at the boss with the bubble, and they just blew up the whole group for like 70% of their health. That's not actually supposed to happen. So, you know, if they don't do that, then nobody dies. But you can't really save people that don't do mechanics correctly. I mean, you can certainly try, but not that one. These guys are kind of annoying. They do, each one of these channelers has an ability that the boss ends up having, and then, they each do one in turn. The one that you kind of have to be concerned with as a healer is that, one of these will put a bomb on someone and it'll do an AoE on top of them at the end of the debuff, or you can just dispel it and AoE will stay where they were. Oh look, I have the bomb, whoa! Dispel, run away. And it just doesn't worry about it. So this is one of the first dispel mechanics in the dungeon so far. And I think it's a really cool one because it's not like you lose if you don't dispel, but if you dispel it, then the mechanic basically just doesn't exist. This one's polymorphs are into people. The polymorph can also be dispelled, but thankfully we have mass dispel. So when those things kind of line up on the boss, sometimes I have to use mass dispel here, but things get really chaotic on this boss, as you guys will see. There's also these waves that just go around the boss the entire time. It's really annoying. Not because the waves themselves are annoying, more just because they screw with the camera. Oh no, now we're all rooted. This root also does magic damage, so that's usually what I use the mass dispel for. Usually if someone gets polymorphed on this fight, I just let them stay polymorphed because it only lasts like 5 seconds anyway. The root actually does damage though, so by dispelling that you take less damage. And again, like, you should never run out of mana, so using mass dispel is not an issue. The only thing annoying about this boss is that just because you have to dodge a lot of things, people have a tendency to spread out. Which is why I'm going to use Shadow Covenant here, because I don't think I'll actually get to Radiance people much. Also, I just kind of want to demo Shadow Covenant in action. Oh, whoops. It didn't take Purge the Wicked off my bar. There we go. Spellbook. Oh! Wow, this should be fun. So I have overloaded with light right now. So my next Light's Wrath will do 500% more damage. Yep. Which means that it will basically top everyone off instantly, no matter what. Not that it matters because this boss is a joke. It just doesn't do anything. This is one boss that you do want to keep Atonement up on everyone for. Okay, I'm just gonna kill the boss with this Light's Wrath. Oh, I'm bad at the game, so I didn't kill the boss. Okay, now I'm gonna kill the boss, I swear. Light's Wrath. See that 800,000 damage? It's pretty good. I also almost let the tank die, but that's fine. I wanted to get the Mega Light's Wrath. That's all I cared about, really. So, 800,000 damage, pretty cool. Overloaded is awesome. Anyway, that is Eye of Azshara. And as you can see, the only time anybody died was the 2 people on the one boss because they didn't do mechanics. Almost no one ever even dropped below 50% any other time, because that's just the way things happen if you actually are switching targets and effectively keeping your atonement on the right people, using Power Word Shield, and making use of your many cooldowns. Anyway, that's it for today. I will maybe see you guys later with another video, but for now, hope you guys enjoy, and can try some dungeons for yourselves. See you guys.